Las Vegas glittered like a fever dream, all neon and noise and promises nobody meant to keep. The Strip pulsed with 1,000 heartbeats, slot machines chiming their siren songs, laughter spilling from open casino doors like champagne from a shaken bottle. The air tasted electric, dangerous, like anything could happen if you were foolish enough or drunk enough to let it. Nia Brooks was both. She sat at the bar of the Bellagio Casino, her third, or was it fourth? Margarita sweating condensation onto the marble counter. Her reflection stared back from a mirrored wall behind the bartender. Dark skin glowing under amber lights, black curls escaping their ponytail in rebellion, eyes that were trying very hard not to cry. Her phone lay face down beside her drink. Screen cracked from when she dropped it earlier. Just like everything else tonight. Dropped, cracked, ruined. Another? The bartender asked, eyebrow raised. Make it a double, Nia said, then laughed at herself. Actually, no. Make it water. I need to think. But thinking was the problem. Thinking meant remembering that her wallet had been stolen 3 hours ago, that her flight home to Atlanta left in 6 hours, and she had exactly $17 to her name, that her travel vlog channel, her one shot at building something real, was hemorrhaging subscribers because she hadn't posted in 2 weeks, that her best friend had stopped answering her calls after Nia borrowed money she still couldn't pay back. She pressed her palms against her eyes. At this point, she muttered to no one, I might as well marry a billionaire and call a night. Is that an offer? The voice came from her left, smooth and faintly accented. Korean, maybe? Nia looked up. He was beautiful in that untouchable way some men were. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that held storms, black hair swept back like he'd just stepped out of magazine spread. His suit probably cost more than her entire year's rent. He looked expensive, bored, dangerously out of place sitting alone in a Vegas casino bar at 2 a.m. Nia blinked. Excuse me? You said you'd marry a billionaire. He tilted his head, the ghost of a smile playing at his lips. I'm asking if that's an offer. Are you a billionaire? Close enough. She laughed, sharp and tired. Then, congratulations. You're exactly the kind of chaos I don't need right now. Funny, he said, signaling the bartender for 2 shots of tequila. I was thinking the same thing about you. His name was Mincy Khan, though she wouldn't learn that until later. Right now, he was just a stranger with sad eyes and a black card he slapped on the bar without looking at the price. He slid 1 shot toward her. To bad decisions, he said. Nia picked up the glass, studying him. There was something reckless instead of his shoulders, something that matched the wild thing clawing inside her chest. You running from something? An engagement party. His smile went sharp. You. My entire life. They clinked glasses. The tequila burned clean and bright down her throat. 1 shot became 2. 2 became 4. Somewhere between the 6th and 7th, Mincy told her about his family's tech empire, about board meetings that felt like cages, about the woman his parents expected him to marry, beautiful, polished, empty. Nia told him about maxed-out credit cards, about dreaming too big in a world that wanted her small, about being tired pretending she wasn't drowning. You know what we should do, Nia said, the room tilting pleasantly around her. Something stupid? Something extremely stupid. His eyes glinted. I'm listening. That's how they ended up in a chapel at 3:47 a.m. Neon cross flickering above the door like a warning neither of them heeded. The officiant wore an Elvis costume. Nia's bouquet was a handful of plastic flowers someone had left on a pew. Mincy's tie was crooked, his hair falling into his eyes as he recited vows he'd forget by morning. Do you take this woman? I do, Mincy said, and his voice didn't shake even a little. And do you take this man? Hell yes, Nia said, and maybe she was laughing or maybe she was crying. She couldn't tell any more. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife. Somewhere, a slot machine hit jackpot. The universe held its breath. They kissed because that's what you did at weddings, even fake ones. His mouth tasted like tequila and bad choices. Her heart hammered, like it knew something her brain refused to admit. When they pulled apart, Minseek was looking at her like he'd just done something he couldn't take back. "We're not really married," Nia whispered. "Of course not," he agreed. The officiant handed them a certificate, embossed, official, stamped with the seal of Clark County, Nevada. Nia stared at it. This is real. "Very real," Minseek said slowly. They looked at each other. The weight of what they'd done settled like lead. "Oh," Nia said. "Oh, no." "Yeah," Minseek breathed. "Oh, no. Ever made one bad decision that turned into 5? Don't forget to subscribe. This story's just getting messy." Morning came like a punishment. Nia woke to sunlight stabbing through unfamiliar curtains, her head pounding in rhythm with her heartbeat. She was still wearing last night's dress, rumpled, stained with something that smelled like tequila and regret. The hotel room was enormous, all marble and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Strip. Definitely not her budget motel. She sat up slowly. Her mouth tasted like bad decisions. That's when she saw him. Minseek sat at the edge of the bed, already dressed in a fresh suit, phone pressed to his ear. He was speaking rapid Korean, his voice clipped and cold. When he noticed her stirring, he ended the call without saying goodbye. "You're awake," he said. Nia pressed her palms against her temples. "Please tell me last night was a really vivid hallucination." Wordlessly, he held up a piece of paper, the marriage certificate. "Oh, God," Nia whispered. "Oh, God, oh, God, oh." "Stop panicking." "Stop panicking? We got married. To each other. We're strangers." "I'm aware." He set the certificate down with careful precision, "which is why my legal team is drawing up an annulment. It'll be handled quietly. No one needs to know." Nia stared at him. "Your legal team? You have a legal team." "Several." "Right. Because you're—" She gestured vaguely at his entire existence. "You're actually rich. Like scary rich. My family owns Han Technologies. We're one of the largest tech conglomerates in South Korea." His expression remained neutral, practiced. "Last night was an aberration. I have an important merger to finalize in this." He gestured between them. "Complicates things." "Complicates." Nia laughed, a little hysterical. That's one word for it. A knock at the door interrupted them. Minseek rose, opening it to reveal a woman in a severe black suit, tablet in hand, expression carved from ice. "Mr. Han," she said in English, though her accent was thick. "We have a situation." "Ms. Park." He stepped aside to let her in. "This is my head of legal. She'll explain." Ms. Park's gaze swept over Nia with the warmth of a tax audit. "Miss Brooks, under Nevada law, your marriage is legally binding. An annulment requires proof of fraud, coercion, or incapacity. Unfortunately, casino security footage shows you both entering the chapel willingly, coherently, and," her lip curled slightly, enthusiastically. "So we're stuck." Nia asked, "Divorce takes time. 6 months minimum in Nevada, longer if contested." Ms. Park's fingers flew across her tablet. "However, Mr. Han has a public image to maintain. News of a drunken Vegas wedding to an unknown American woman would be problematic." "Thanks," Nia said dryly. "Love being called a problem before breakfast." Ms. Park ignored her. "We're proposing an alternative. A temporary marriage contract. You remain married for 3 months, long enough to avoid scandal, short enough to claim irreconcilable differences. During this time, You'll live in Seoul, maintain appearances at necessary events, and sign an NDA preventing you from discussing the arrangement. Nia blinked. You want me to move to Korea and pretend to be his wife. In exchange, Ms. Park continued, we'll pay your outstanding debts, approximately $47,000, provide housing, a monthly stipend, and cover all living expenses. Think of it as hazard compensation. The number hit Nia like cold water. $47,000. Her student loans, her max credit cards, the money she owed friends, family, the universe. Gone. Just like that. And if I say no, she asked quietly. Ms. Park's smile could have cut glass. Then we proceed with a standard divorce, which you'll need to fund yourself. Legal fees start around $15,000. Min-sik hadn't said a word. He stood by the window, shoulders tense, staring out at the city like it held answers. Nia stood, wrapping the hotel robe tighter around herself. Can I think about it? You have 1 hour, Ms. Park said, and left. Silence filled the room like smoke. You don't have to do this, Min-sik said finally, not turning around. I kind of do, though. Nia's laugh was hollow. I'm broke. Like, choosing between dinner and bus fare broke. This is the most money anyone's ever offered me to do absolutely anything. It's not honest. Neither was last night. He turned then, and for just a moment, she saw something raw in his expression. Guilt, maybe, or recognition. The look of someone who understood what it meant to be trapped by choices that weren't really choices at all. 3 months, he said softly, and then you're free. Free, Nia repeated. The word tasted strange. 48 hours later, she was on a plane to Seoul. The flight was first class. Her first time not crammed into economy with her knees against someone's reclined seat. Min-sik worked on his laptop the entire 13 hours, barely speaking. Nia pressed her forehead against a window and watched the world scroll by below. Ocean, then clouds, then the glittering sprawl of a city she'd only seen in dramas. Seoul unfolded beneath them like a circuit board, all light and geometry and impossible scale. The plane descended through rain, droplets streaking the windows like tears the sky couldn't hold back. A car waited at the airport, sleek, black, the kind that whisper money. The driver loaded her single battered suitcase into a trunk that could have fit 10. Nia slid into leather seats that probably cost more than her childhood home. Welcome to Seoul, Min-sik said, though his eyes never left his phone. The penthouse made the Vegas hotel look quaint. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Han River, its surface scattered with lights like fallen stars. The interior was all clean lines and muted colors. White marble, pale wood, abstract art that probably had names Nia couldn't pronounce. It was beautiful. Cold. A museum pretending to be a home. Your room is upstairs, Min-sik said, already heading toward what looked like a home office. The housekeeper will show you around. Try not to break anything. Nia stood in the foyer, suitcase at her feet, and felt the full weight of her decision settle onto her shoulders. What would you do if you were her? Comment below. The first week was a montage of disasters. Nia flooded the bathroom trying to figure out the Japanese smart toilet. She bowed to the housekeeper, who looked horrified. Apparently, you didn't bow to staff. She wore jeans to what turned out to be a formal dinner and spent 2 hours pretending she understood conversations conducted entirely in Korean. Min-sik watched it all with barely concealed irritation, like she was a project that refused to follow instructions. You're chaos, he said one morning, finding her attempting to make coffee in his pristine kitchen. She'd somehow managed to spill grounds across 3 countertops. And you're allergic to fun, Nia shot back, not looking up. When's the last time you smiled? Like genuinely? I smile. That corporate grimace doesn't count. His jaw tightened. This isn't supposed to be fun. It's a contract. Everything's a contract with you. She finally got the machine working, poured herself a cup. Work, marriage, breathing, probably. At least I take my commitments seriously. The words hit harder than he'd probably meant them to. Nia set down her mug carefully, meeting his eyes. You think I don't? I signed your papers. I moved across the world. I'm playing dress up in your world, even though every single person looks at me like I'm a mistake. So, yeah, Min, I take this seriously. Maybe too seriously. She left before he could respond. Coffee forgotten. That night, she couldn't sleep. The penthouse was too quiet, too big, too full of expensive emptiness. She found herself on the balcony. City lights spread below like a promised soul hadn't made her yet. Can't sleep either? She turned. Minseek stood in the doorway, tie gone, shirt unbuttoned at the collar, looking more human than she'd ever seen him. It's too quiet here, Nia said. I'm used to sirens, neighbors fighting, life happening. He stepped onto the balcony, keeping distance between them. I grew up in houses like this. Quiet, controlled. Sometimes I'd turn on the TV just to hear voices. That's sad. That's wealth. He leaned against the railing, close enough now that she could smell his cologne. Cedar and something sharp. You get used to it. Do you? Nia asked, because you look lonely. For a moment, he didn't answer, just watched the city breathe below them. And you, he said finally, voice softer than she'd heard it. For someone who has nothing, you look free. The words landed between them like a confession. Nia turned to face him fully. I'm not free. I'm here because I had no other choice. Neither was I, Minseek admitted. The engagement I ran from, that was my family's choice. The company, the merger, the perfect wife, none of it's mine. And then you, he stopped, jaw working. You crashed into my life like a storm I didn't know I needed. Her heart kicked against her ribs. Men. Don't, he said, but he didn't move away. This is already complicated. Maybe complicated is better than empty. They stood there, the city humming below, something fragile and dangerous building in the space between their bodies. Minseek looked at her like he was solving an equation that kept changing variables. Nia felt her breath catch. Then his phone rang. The moment shattered. Minseek stepped back, answering in clipped Korean. Business. Always business. When he finished the call, the walls were back up. You should sleep, he said, already retreating inside. We have that charity event tomorrow. The stylist comes at 8. Nia stayed on the balcony a moment longer, pulse still racing, wondering if she'd imagined the softness in his voice, wondering if this mistake was starting to feel suspiciously like something else. This mistake is starting to look suspiciously like fate. Hit that like button if you're rooting for Nia. The charity gala was Nia's formal introduction to Minseek's world, and she was already failing. The dress the stylist had chosen was stunning. Midnight blue silk that hugged her curves and made her skin glow like warm honey under the chandelier lights. But beauty couldn't hide inexperience. Nia didn't know which fork to use, couldn't remember the proper way to bow to elders, and her Korean was good enough for ordering coffee, but terrible for navigating conversations about corporate mergers and family lineages. Smile, Minseek murmured beside her as they entered the ballroom. And try not to accidentally insult anyone. No promises, Nia muttered back. The room was a cathedral of wealth, crystal chandeliers, marble columns, women dripping in diamonds that probably cost more than Nia's life. Everyone turned to stare when they entered. She felt their eyes like physical weight, assessing, judging, finding her lacking. Minseek's hand found the small of her back, steady and warm. Breathe. I'm breathing. You're holding your breath. She exhaled slowly. He was right. The evening crawled by in a blur of introductions Nia wouldn't remember, and small talk that felt like an exam she hadn't studied for. Then came dinner. She was seated beside a woman in her 50s, dripping in Chanel, who introduced herself as Mrs. Yoon, some sort of fashion influencer with 3 million followers. So, Mrs. Yoon said in English, her smile sharp as glass, "How did you and Minsik meet?" Nia had prepared for this. Ms. Park had given her an entire script, but her brain short-circuited under Mrs. Yoon's predatory stare. "Vegas," she said honestly. Mrs. Yoon's eyebrows lifted. "How? American?" "Yeah." We really leaned into the stereotype. Elvis officiant and everything. The table went quiet. Someone's fork clinked against china. Mrs. Yoon's expression flickered between shock and delight. "You're joking." "Nope. Married at 3 a.m. in a chapel that smelled like cigarettes and broken dreams. Very romantic." Nia picked up her wine glass. Though honestly, the Elvis impersonator gave a surprisingly moving speech about true love. Made me cry. Might have been the tequila. Minsik's hand found her knee under the table, squeezing once. A warning. But Mrs. Yoon threw her head back and laughed, loud, genuine, drawing every eye in the room. "Oh my God," she gasped. "You're serious. You actually got Vegas married." She turned to her dinner companion. "Can you believe this? Finally, someone interesting at these things." The tension broke. Conversations resumed. Mrs. Yoon pulled out her phone. "I'm doing a live stream tomorrow about modern romance. You should come on. People would die for this story." "I don't think," Nia started. "She'd love to." Minsik cut in smoothly, under the table. His hand was still on her knee, still warm. By the end of the night, Nia had accidentally become the gala's main attraction. Her honesty, her refusal to pretend she belonged, made her fascinating. People clustered around her, laughing at her stories about accidentally using honorifics wrong, or getting lost in Gangnam, because all the buildings looked the same. In the car home, Minsik was quiet. "I'm sorry," Nia said finally. "I know I was supposed to be more polished." "You were perfect." She turned to stare at him. "Really? Because I'm pretty sure I broke every rule in Miss Park's handbook." "You were real." His eyes met hers in the rearview mirror's reflection. "People liked you. More importantly, they believed us." "Believed us? That this," he gestured between them, "is real." Something in his voice made her chest tighten. The interview with Mrs. Yoon went viral. Not just viral, explosively, catastrophically viral. Clips of Nia laughing about her Vegas wedding, about cultural confusion, about being a broke girl who accidentally married into wealth, spread across Korean social media like wildfire. Within 48 hours, she gained 200,000 followers on Instagram. The comments were a war zone. Finally, someone who acts like a human being, not a robot. This is what happens when Americans have no shame. I love her OMG. Gold digger alert. The way she talks about him, though. This is real love. I'm calling it. Ms. Park called an emergency meeting. "This," she said, gesturing at Nia's phone where comments still poured in, "is both a disaster and an opportunity. You've made yourself a public figure. We can either control the narrative or let it control us. What do you suggest?" Minsik asked, his expression unreadable. "Lean into it. More appearances. More interviews. Show them a love story, even if it's manufactured." Ms. Park's gaze landed on Nia. "Can you handle that?" Nia thought about her growing follower count, about the messages from young women, thanking her for being honest about struggling with money, about the weird, tentative pride she felt seeing herself represented in a world that usually didn't have space for girls who look like her. "Yeah," she said, "I can handle it." What followed was a strange new rhythm. photo shoots for magazines, joint interviews where they told carefully edited versions of their story, sponsored posts where Nia would model clothes and Minseek would appear in the background, close enough to suggest intimacy. The public ate it up. Hashtag Minia started trending. Fan accounts appeared overnight. Someone made a compilation of Minseek smiling at Nia with over 1 million views. And the weird thing was, the lines were blurring. During a shoot for a lifestyle magazine, Minseek's hand lingered on her waist longer than necessary. At a restaurant opening, he whispered a joke in her ear that made her laugh. So hard, she snorted, and his smile was real, unguarded. One night, after a particularly exhausting day of back-to-back appearances, they collapsed on the penthouse couch together. Nia kicked off her heels with a groan. Minseek loosened his tie, head falling back against the cushions. "I'm so tired I could sleep for a week," Nia muttered. "Same." They sat in comfortable silence, the city glowing through the windows. Without thinking, Nia leaned her head on his shoulder. She felt him tense, then slowly, deliberately, relax. "This is weird, right?" she said softly. "That this is starting to feel normal?" "Very weird," he agreed, but his arm came around her shoulders, careful, tentative. They stayed like that for a long moment. Two people pretending to be in love, starting to forget they were pretending. Nia's phone buzzed. A message from her brother. "Sis, you good?" These tabloid photos are wild. Attached was a paparazzi shot. Her and Minseek leaving a restaurant, his jacket draped over her shoulders, both of them laughing at something neither could probably remember now. They looked happy. They looked in love. Nia's throat tightened. "Men," she said, not moving from where she was curled against him. "What happens when this ends?" His arm tightened fractionally around her. "We agreed on 3 months." "That's not what I asked." For a long time, he didn't answer. Then, so quietly she almost missed it. "I don't know. What happens when a fake marriage starts to feel a little too real? Like, Comet, and guess who falls first?" The unraveling began with a phone call. Nia was filming a vlog in the penthouse, just casual content about adjusting to life and soul, when Minseek's phone rang. She'd learned to recognize his different tones. The clipped professionalism for business, the careful patience for his mother, the cold distance for his father. This was different. This was steel wrapped around panic. He answered in rapid Korean, his face going pale. Then he was up, grabbing his keys, already moving toward the door. "Min, wait, what's wrong?" "I have to go," he said without looking at her. "Family emergency." "Let me come with you." "No." The word was final, brutal. "This isn't your world, Nia. Stop pretending it is." The door slammed. She stood alone in the vast white space of the penthouse, his words echoing like the truth they both knew was coming. He didn't come home that night. Or the next. Nia tried calling. It went straight to voicemail. She texted Ms. Park, who responded with a terse, "Mr. Han is handling private family business. Please maintain your public schedule as planned." So she did. She went to a launch event for a new Korean skincare line, smiled for cameras, answered questions about her perfect marriage, while her husband was God knows where, radio silent. The truth came from a tabloid. Someone leaked it to Seoul Today. Photos from 5 years ago. Minseek at an engagement party with a beautiful Korean woman. Park Jae-hye, daughter of one of the country's largest textile empires. The article explained that their families had been planning this union since they were teenagers, that the merger would create the most powerful textile conglomerate in Asia, that Minseek had fled to Vegas to escape the contract his parents had signed without his consent, that Nia was never supposed to be anything more than a temporary inconvenience. She read the article 3 times, each word landing like a fist. Sources close to the Han family confirm that the Vegas marriage was never meant to be permanent. Park Jae-hye remains the intended match, with the wedding tentatively scheduled for next spring. Nia's hand shook as she set down her phone. He came back on the third day. She was sitting on the balcony when she heard the door open. Her suitcase was already packed. Sitting by the foyer, she'd made her decision. "Nia," Min-sik started, "was I your escape route?" She didn't turn around. Couldn't look at him yet. Answer me honestly for once. Silence. Then, yes. The admission hurt more than she'd expected. Nia laughed, sharp and wounded. Wow. Points for honesty, I guess. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. She stood, finally facing him. God, he looked tired. You saw a drunk girl in a bar and thought, perfect, a way out. And I was so desperate for money that I let you turn me into your solution. That's not fair. Fair. Her voice cracked. You want to talk about fair? I fell for you. Men somewhere between your stupid corporate smiles and those late-night talks on the balcony. I actually fell for you. And you, she wiped at her eyes angrily. You were just counting down days until you could go back to your real life. That's not true. Then tell me I'm wrong. She stepped closer, close enough to see the shadows under his eyes, the tension carved into his jaw. Tell me Park Jae-hye isn't waiting for you. Tell me your parents didn't call you back to finalize a merger I was never supposed to complicate. Tell me I mean more to you than a 3-month contract. Min-sik opened his mouth, closed it. His silence was answer enough. That's what I thought, Nia said quietly. She moved to grab her suitcase, but his hand shot out, catching her wrist. Don't. His voice broke on the word. Don't go. Not like this. Like what? With dignity? Too late. She pulled free. You got what you wanted. 3 months to avoid scandal. Congratulations. Nia, please. You were never the mistake, Min. She met his eyes one last time. Vegas was. Thinking this could be anything more than what it was, that was a real mistake. She left before he could respond. Left before he could see her crying. At the airport, paparazzi swarmed. Someone had leaked her departure. Cameras flashed. Questions flew in Korean and English. Is the marriage over? Were you paid to leave? How much did the Han family offer you? Nia kept her head down, security guards flanking her through the crowd. But one reporter's question made her stop. Do you regret marrying him? She turned, finding the camera. For a moment, she considered lying. Considered protecting Min-sik the way she protected him for 3 months. Instead, she told the truth. No, she said clearly. I don't regret the marriage. I regret believing it was real. The clip was everywhere within an hour. Sometimes, love shows up when truth hurts most. What would you do if you were her? Comment below. Atlanta welcomed Nia back with humidity and reality. She moved back into her tiny studio apartment, the one that smelled like old carpet and her neighbors cooking. Everything felt smaller than she remembered, smaller and somehow safer. Seoul had been beautiful, overwhelming, impossible. Home was just home. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Requests for interviews, brand deals. Her follower count had exploded past 1 million. Apparently, being the broke bride who married a billionaire made her fascinating. She ignored most of it. Instead, she did what she'd always done best. She told stories. Her first video back was titled, "So I accidentally got married in Vegas, and it ruined my life." She sat on her worn couch. No professional lighting, no script, just her and a camera and the truth. "Look," she said to the lens, "I know what you all think, that I was some gold digger who trapped a rich guy, or that I was stupid enough to fall for a fairy tale. And honestly, both are kind of true." She laughed, rubbing her eyes. But here's what nobody talks about. What happens when the fairy tale ends and you're just you again, broke, in your old apartment, eating ramen because it's all you can afford. She paused, gathering courage. I fell in love with someone who couldn't love me back. Not because he didn't want to, but because his entire life was already written, and I was never part of the story. And that's okay. It hurts like hell, but it's okay. The video went viral for different reasons this time. Not scandal, solidarity. Comments poured in from people sharing their own stories of loving the wrong person, of being brave enough to walk away, of surviving heartbreak. Nia's channel became something new, something real. Weeks passed. Summer bled into early fall. She took brand deals that felt authentic, small companies, ethical fashion, things she actually believed in. She paid off her debts, sent money to her brother, started saving. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. She tried not to think about Minseek. She failed constantly. Then, on a random Tuesday night, while she was editing footage, a notification popped up on her livestream chat. Minseek Official has joined. Her heart stopped. The chat exploded. OMG, is that really him? Verify that account. Sis, block him. No, don't block him. Nia stared at the screen. It was verified. Really him. Minseek Official. I think we forgot to sign the divorce papers. Her hands trembled over the keyboard. Thousands of people were watching, waiting. She typed, pretty sure that was intentional. Minseek Official. Probably. I'm not good at letting go of things I care about. The chat lost its mind. Nia's pulse thundered in her ears. Nia Brooks. What are you doing, Min? Minseek Official. Something I should have done 3 months ago. Minseek Official. I canceled the engagement. Nia's breath caught. She typed, what? Minseek Official. With Park Jai-hai. I ended it. Told my parents I'm done living their life. Minseek Official. Turns out losing you is worse than losing everything else combined. Tears blurred her vision. She tried to type a response, but her hands wouldn't cooperate. Minseek Official. I'm in Atlanta, Nia. At the airport. Will you meet me? She didn't answer. Just grabbed her keys and ran. The airport was chaos. Late-night travelers dragging suitcases, announcements echoing, the smell of coffee and recycled air. Nia pushed through crowds, heart racing, still wearing her editing sweats and no makeup. She found him by the arrivals gate. Minseek stood holding 2 paper cups of coffee, looking exhausted and hopeful and more human than she'd ever seen him. No suit, just jeans and a simple black shirt. Hair slightly messy, eyes finding hers across the terminal, like magnets pulling north. They stared at each other for a long moment. You came, he said finally. You're an idiot, she replied. I know. You really ended the engagement? Publicly, very dramatically. My mother stopped speaking to me. A small smile. Worth it. Why now? Why fly all the way here? Because you were right. Minseek took a step closer, careful, like approaching something wild. I used you as an escape route. I did. But somewhere between Vegas and Seoul, between contract signatures and fake smiles for cameras, you stopped being an exit strategy. Min, let me finish. His voice was rough, urgent. You asked me to tell you that you meant more to me than a 3-month contract. I couldn't because I was terrified. My entire life has been controlled, planned, negotiated by other people. And then he laughed shaky. You crashed into my life like a hurricane. I didn't know I was drowning without. You made me laugh. You made me feel things I'd spent 32 years avoiding. Nia's eyes burned. You still let me leave. I know. I was a coward. He held out one of the coffee cups. I'm trying not to be one now. She took the cup. Their fingers brushed. That same electric spark from Vegas, from 1,000 small moments in Seoul. It hadn't faded. "This is crazy," she whispered. "Yeah." His smile was soft, uncertain. "But we're pretty good at crazy. Your family will survive. My mother is already redirecting her fury into hostile board takeovers." Very therapeutic. He stepped closer, close enough now that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. "Nia, I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I hurt you, but I'm asking anyway, can we try again? For real this time. No contracts. No timelines. Just us." The airport hummed around them. Announcements crackled. Somewhere a baby cried. The world kept spinning, indifferent to the moment breaking open between them. What if it doesn't work? Nia asked, what if we're just two people who made a drunken mistake that temporarily felt like fate? Then at least we'll know. Min-sik reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed a tear from her cheek. "But I don't think that's what this is. Do you?" Nia looked at him, really looked, at the man who'd traded his perfectly controlled life for uncertainty, who'd flown across an ocean because love, it turned out, was scarier than any boardroom, any scandal, any disappointed parent. "No," she said finally, "I don't think it's a mistake anymore." "So," she set down her coffee cup. "Round two. No alcohol this time," he promised. Probably smart. She stepped into a space, closing the last distance between them. "But just so we're clear, I'm not moving back to Seoul unless you get me actual furniture. That museum penthouse is depressing." He laughed, and it sounded like relief, like sunrise after the longest night. "Deal. Anything else?" "Yeah." She tilted her face up toward his. "Kiss me before I change my mind." Min-sik's hands framed her face, gentle and sure, and when their lips met it wasn't like Vegas. Reckless and desperate. It was better. It was a choice they were both making with open eyes and careful hearts. The kiss tasted like coffee and second chances. Around them, a few people noticed. Phones came out. Someone gasped in recognition. By tomorrow, the internet would explode again. #Minnia would trend worldwide. The headlines would write themselves. But right now, in this moment, it was just two people who'd found each other in the chaos and decided to try again. When they finally pulled apart, Min-sik rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said quietly. "I should have said it sooner. I'm saying it now." Nia's chest felt too full, too bright. "I love you too, even though you're emotionally constipated and terrible at communicating. I'm working on it. You better be." They stood there, holding each other in the middle of Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, while strangers took pictures and whispered and witnessed the beginning of something real. 3 months later, they renewed their vows. Not in Vegas this time, in a small garden in Seoul, with both their families present. Nia's brother flew in from Nigeria. Min-sik's mother attended, though she spent most of the ceremony looking like she'd swallowed something bitter. His father actually smiled. The officiant was not Elvis. But when Nia said, "I do this time," she meant it with every atom of her being. And when Min-sik kissed her, sealing promises they'd both almost thrown away, the gathered witnesses erupted in applause. Later, at the reception, Mrs. Yoon cornered Nia with tears in her eyes. "You did it," she said. "You made the most boring CEO and so interesting. I prefer to think he made me stable." Nia replied, glancing at where Min-sik was laughing with her brother, his tie already loosened, looking happy in a way she'd never seen in those early weeks. "Stable is overrated," Mrs. Yoon declared. "Chaos is much more fun." That night, in their newly furnished penthouse, complete with actual comfortable furniture and photographs on the walls and signs of real life being lived, Men seek pull Nia close on their new couch. No regrets, he asked softly. She thought about Vegas, about crying in airports, about the terrifying gamble of loving someone who could hurt you, about choosing to try anyway. Not a single one, Nia said, and meant it. Outside, Soul glittered like always, beautiful and relentless. But inside, wrapped in each other's arms, they'd found something better than fairy tales. They'd found real. Would you trust love if it started as an accident? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where chaos meets destiny. Because sometimes the best love stories begin with the worst decisions. See you next time.